What do your sources say about the continuation of the shutdown? Are you having anyone telling you that this air traffic control issue, which is crucial for American transportation, is that putting any pressure on the government to get back to work?
That's what basically broke the shutdown in 2018, 2019. There was a day when 10 air traffic controllers called in. There were a number of airports along the eastern seaboard that basically came to ground stops, and Congress suddenly, or President Trump during his first term suddenly, kind of had a come to Jesus moment and ended the shutdown. Um, I don't hear anybody saying that now. In fact, I think I read something this morning where the Republicans that had been floating this idea of paying some federal workers, including air traffic controllers, are now walking that back. So it does not feel like we're getting closer to a resolution of the shutdown. But what will happen is that the air traffic controllers are going to get more and more stressed out and more fatigued, and you're going to see a lot more sick calls. I think that people have to realize that these sick calls, I mean, they can be for legitimate reasons. Like one air traffic controller told me that his kid was sick, and he's like, I cannot afford babysitting right now because I don't have a paycheck. So what is he going to do? Leave his 7-year-old home by himself? Like I think we're putting people in these situations where, for legitimate reasons, people talk about, the illegitimate reasons people will call in sick. But what I'm hearing from air traffic controllers that I talk to is that people, they want to be at work, but they have life, they have things going on, and they need to take some time. So I think, we're just going to see more sick calls.
And then you mentioned that TSA agents went without their first paycheck on Friday. And before we started recording, you said you think there might be some confusion or general misunderstanding about the difference between the paychecks going to the TSA versus air traffic controllers. Would you like to clarify that confusion that you've been seeing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people, they understand that both TSA workers and air traffic controllers are both federal workers, but they work for different agencies. So TSA is under Homeland Security, it's a security force, and the air traffic controllers are under the FAA, which is under the Department of Transportation. So what happens when TSA workers call in sick, and they're doing that as well, is that you see longer lines at security, right? So if an airport can't open up a lane or two, every other lane gets longer. We've all been there, right? So that is happening. And then also now we have the air traffic controllers having missed their first full paycheck. And when they call in sick, that's when the flights are actually delayed. If a TSA workers call in sick, it doesn't delay flights, it causes congestion inside the airport. If a bunch of air traffic controllers call in sick, that causes the flight delays. And one thing that I'd like to say, though, that is what I've noticed in the last, certainly since the Sunday, is if you look at the airports that are having the call outs, they're the biggest airports in the country. You had Atlanta yesterday, 800 flights in and out of Atlanta delayed, 800. You have Denver, the fourth busiest airport today. LAX, I think, is number 5 on Saturday or Sunday. I think they had a ground stop because of staffing. These are the biggest airports that are being affected. Right now, there is a staffing trigger at the Philadelphia TRACON, which is a terminal. There are 3 types of facilities, but it's the facility that basically oversees Newark Airport, and that TRACON has a staffing trigger right now. So Newark is, I think, the 7th or 8th, busiest. So you have a lot of the busiest hubs having this happen, and that then there's a knock-on effect, right? The hubs tend to be where a layover happens. So if you're flying from A to B, you're probably actually going to end up at some other airport for a layover. And if that airport has a staffing trigger or a ground delay, guess what? Your whole day now is ruined.